Hello, hello, hello. I'm Megan DiMartino, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today on The Visionary Entrepreneur. Thank you, Carrie Conley, for inviting me to join you and your viewers, your guests. I am a New York girl deep in the heart of Texas with a serving, creative, mentoring spirit. So over these next 20 minutes, I'm going to take you on a journey that really spans 50 years. 50 years of creativity that started with a vision. So I want you to take out a pad and write down these 4 words: vision, mission, passion, and action. And as we go on, I want to earmark each of those so that you really can see yourself in this journey of mine. As I said, I'm a New York girl. I started my life on Long Island, outside of New York City. New York City was a major part of my life. My parents loved Manhattan, and we went in as often as they could afford. I'm one of 4 kids, so it wasn't that often, but we certainly went in many, many times as a child. As I grew up into teen years, interesting fact, I guess you'd say, in 1964, I took the train with a girlfriend from Long Island to Yankee Stadium and saw the Beatles. Yes, I was there, one of those screaming girls in the audience. So that was my DNA, that creativity, that ever-changing, evolving platform. I thought I was going to be a fashion designer. My mother was a very creative woman, as was my father. And my mother was a major seamstress, and she sewed all of our party dresses and coats and even my wedding dress. She was very, very talented. And we did this together as I became a teenager. We'd go to a pattern store and pick out patterns, a bodice from one, a sleeve from another, a back from another, and she would piece them together. We'd buy fabric. It could even be upholstery fabric. So it was a very creative time for me. And I thought, as I said, I was going to go to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology in New York, and become a fashion designer. But my father had a different plan. So I went to a Catholic girls' college in DC in 1968, very challenging time to be in college, number 1, and number 2 in Washington, DC. I just wanted to get on with life and start creating. I was in a fashion merchandising program. So with that, I got a job in the summers at Lord & Taylor in an intern program that led to a buyer's training program. So that's where I started my initial point of entry to the creative fashion world. But my story really begins, guys, in Bloomingdale's in 1973. In 1973, I went to Bloomingdale's and applied for a job. And because I had this background, they asked me if I wanted to work with this new cosmetic line that was coming in from London, Biba. Biba was the rage on Carnaby Street, in the Beatles and the Stones and Mary Quant and Beauty. And so Biba was cutting edge, and she was coming into Bloomingdale's. But when I say cutting edge, it was revolutionary, actually, because they didn't put the Biba counter on the main floor in the cosmetic department. It was in the junior department. So I was 23 years of age, long hair, wavy hair, and we had a uniform, which was bell bottoms, a ruffle shirt, and I was trained as a makeup artist by the Biba Corporation. And so here I was in the junior department and doing makeup for whomever. And one day, and I call this my epiphany stage. Now, you may have had an epiphany stage or an epiphany, and that leads you to that next stage. And that epiphany happened one day when Don McLean and his song, Bye Bye American Pie, drove the Chevy to the levee and the levee went dry, was playing in the background. And I was doing someone's makeup, and I had this bam moment, this epiphany moment, that someday I was going to do something like Biba, Because remember, I thought it was going to be fashion. But here I'm doing like painter's palette, and I'm doing someone's makeup, and I had that epiphany. Someday I'm going to do something like Biba. I had no idea what that was, guys. That's generally what happens with an epiphany. You get that aha moment, and you really aren't clear at all what road you're going to travel, how you're going to get there, how you're going to even get on the road. No, you don't know. So you just have to stay open and stay with that moment in time, which leads you to your vision. To your vision. You can see it. You can see it. You can feel it. You believe in your heart. You see it. I knew I was going to create something. This leads me to 1983, 10 years later, when I got a job with a very visionary paper company. They were the oldest and largest manufacturer of NWRAPs. Now remember, 1983, big hair. So NWRAPs were a major commodity in the beauty industry. You could not do a perm without an NWRAP. And so I was working with this company, and they themselves wanted to add some products to the beauty division. And my job was really to go into the field and see what was happening in the salons. And with that, I saw that the acrylic nail world was beginning to happen. So I gave them this understanding, maybe we should do something, but it had to be paper, with the nail industry. So they said, go back out and talk to them and what they need in reference to paper. So I did. And what happened was that the salon, was being trained by companies like Creative Nail, who were really the pioneers of acrylic nails. And they were going into the distributor, Creative Nail was, and educating the cosmetologist. There was no nail tech. They were training the cosmetologist how to do these cool acrylic nails. But what I found when I was speaking to the owner, the manager, was that the individual doing these acrylic nails, building up that nail bed, were destroying their terry or waffle cotton towel. So they made a decision that, they shared with me that they needed a towel that could work, or a surface really, that could work with building up that nail bed. So I went back to my team, and these individuals shared that it had to be absorbent, but most importantly, lint-free. So the specs were there. We heard what they needed. So we went to the drawing board and put together the original nail towel for the industry. And why this is important is because it's leading to, as my topic says, transforming your life and others through creative innovation. So as I said, this was a very innovative company. They had done other things in other industries, and they wanted to add products into the beauty industry. But again, the industry was evolving, very important word. It was changing. And so we put together this nail towel, brought it to the distributors. They started selling it, and it was a commodity that really was very, very successful. We private labeled it for Creative Nail and OPI. Many of you are familiar with OPI. They started out as a powder and acrylic company, as they were called, and others. And so from there, I saw that evolution was going to lead to what became the spa. I saw it. And why did I see it? I saw it because these salons, starting to do nail services and pedicure services, and most often waxing, started calling themselves full service salons. Not a spa yet, but the forerunner of a spa. So therefore, I could see that the next need of innovation was going to be skincare. Truly was. I knew what I was looking for. I was approaching my 40s. I knew what I was looking for, and I could see. And remember, Biba, someday I'm going to do something like this. I was always watching. I was always seeing and those signs of what was needed. And so I knew, as I knew, that I had to get some assistance because, folks, there was no Google to confer with or YouTube or anything of that nature. There was no internet. So in those days, you gleaned information from industry leaders who knew and had of that ilk, that you knew that they knew what they were doing. So, as I said, the epiphany, someday I'm going to do this. Divine intervention happened. And I was offered a job with Alcon Laboratories, or a part of a company that was working with Alcon Laboratories in Fort Worth, Texas. So this New York girl packs up the wagon train and moves west and moves to Fort Worth, Texas. And I took that job because I knew I was able to hang out with very sophisticated chemists. I could glean information, I could pick their brain, I could feel and see what was going to evolve. And I was working with a project of theirs with a hair care line. Now, this is another interesting fun fact. Hyaluronic acid, most of you know today. It's a very large molecule. Today it's used for skincare. But we were working on a hair care line called Hyaluron, based on hyaluronic acid for the treatment of the scalp. Again, the forerunner of products like Nioxin, Rogaine, and things of that nature, hair care lines. So I was already introduced to a result-oriented ingredient such as hyaluronic acid. So with the years going by and working on this line, I was able to interface with the head chemist of Alcon and speak to him about ingredients and what could work and what might work. And as time went on, I found the ingredient glycolic acid from the alpha hydroxy fruit acid family from sugarcane. And this gentleman and I talked a lot about it. What was it from? What, not only from, but what had it been used for? And he was sharing how it was very effective for eczema, psoriasis, i.e. exfoliation, but in a gentle form. So I started researching any other labs in the United States working on or with glycolic acid, and there weren't any, none. And when I called labs, because they were not doing R&D, and when I called labs asking them if they were working in glycolic acid, the answer was, generally, I have no idea what you're talking about. But as time went on, and it's about consistency, that mission became stronger and stronger. So there's that mission to create a result-oriented line. I started doing a market research, and it was very clear that us baby boomers, the peace love generation, the Woodstock generation, we were looking for things that worked, but simply. So it wasn't all of these long lines like these European lines these products had to work and work where people saw a difference very quickly. And hence that's really what glycolic did, and other antioxidants and hydrating ingredients such as hyaluronic acid. I've had hyaluronic acid in my products since 1992. Yes. But I had this mission to start and really enter what the nail industry had done, which was to help the cosmetologists, because there was no spa, there were no estheticians, guys, to help the cosmetologist who owned or managed the salon to get into skincare with a simple, safe, synergistic system and treatment products. And so I left Alcon after 5 years and launched Glycolique. There's the poster right behind me, right here, of Glycolique. That was the marketing poster back in 1992. And I launched Glycolique in 92. So basically, I have been working in this genre forever. And during this season, I'm talking about now the 90s, before spa happened, and certainly medical spa happened. As I said, I was helping salons build or get into. But at that same time, I could see the medical thing beginning. I could see it. What I mean by that is that I was invited as an esthetician, which I got my license in 91, to help at conventions where companies with laser hair removal and other laser equipment, as an esthetician and a product line developer, could work and demonstrate. And so I was working with these equipment companies, and I was meeting these doctors, and you could see that they wanted to get into a insurance, a treatment dynamic that was insurance free, that was cash oriented. That was really the genesis. That was really the motivating factor back then, certainly still is. And so they needed help, and I consulted with them and assisted them. But I saw that hybrid dynamic was going to happen. So as the 90s evolved and into the 2000s, basically you could see this evolution. And, innovation is anticipating the need of individuals or a segment before they even know that they need it. Meaning that, why did result-oriented skincare happen? Because the baby boomer was getting older. People were looking for, and I'm not just talking about females, anyone from 8 to 108 who has skin were looking for products that performed. So that's why that result-oriented skincare evolved. But the salon then had to be trained and brought up the curve to be able to do these treatments. They were not doing laser at first. They were not. They were doing treatments like my glycolic paramedical peel, but they were not doing laser at first. Then the medical thing happened, and they needed the workforce from the salon, and that's how that married together. So in 2003, I came to the Austin, Texas market and opened my first luxury day that was going to evolve to medical spa treatments. But I built the base of business, built a client base, relationship based, that trained the staff, mentoring the staff, very important piece, but then added medical treatments. So I call that the hybrid spa, medical spa concept. That hybrid, it looks like, it feels like, it smells like a luxury day spa, which it was, but it also was a medical spa, combining the two together. One-stop shopping. And today, that concept is prolific and all throughout the United States. So you start with that vision to create that vision and that mission then to help the industry evolve into what you could see was going to happen. There was a need. That is what innovation is. If there's a need, you bring it to market before individuals even know that they need it. It's just like Steve Jobs. I love his story. I love listening to him in that when they launched the iPhone. I love that. Go to that TED Talk, because he's talking about how they take the mainframe and combine it with a phone, which has been out there. And it's that hybrid, combining it together. It looks like a phone, yes, but it also is a computer, yes, but then with social media and the like coming down the pike. So the bottom line, guys, is to see it, believe it, and take action. Because if you don't take action, nothing will happen. A visionary entrepreneur, is the word of God says, without vision, it will not happen. People will perish. And perish to me is like you're going to be disappointed. You're going to not fulfill the dreams and essence that God has put in you, your field of favor. I'm not saying you should all be creating skincare lines and medical spa / luxury spa hybrid concept. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that you yourself know what your basic heart is, what you want to do, what you've been dreaming about, what your vision has been, and you have a mission, whatever that might be. I'm not going to conjecture. It doesn't matter. And, I just want to share this within this journey, this 50-year journey. What I want to share too is that when there is challenges, and trust me, I've had so many, and when there are disappointments, which I've had so many, Those are seeds to just catapult you to the next level. When my husband was very ill with Alzheimer's in 2009, 10, and 11, it was a very challenging time in my life, certainly for him and the business. And I hired a manager because I was just dealing with so many different arenas for his health and his life, his whole life. And so this manager, though, didn't have the same vision, the same mission. He did not. And I could see there were conflicts, absolutely, but I had too many fish to fry. So I let it be. And he made a mess, actually. But after Paul passed and went home to heaven, I just put my lab coat back on, my scrubs back on, and got back into the room and changed the staff. And that's when we went from a luxury day to a luxury day and medical spa. We got our training, our laser training. I hired a medical director, and we were off to the races. And so I don't know if I would have done it as black and white as I did, because it was time. That seed was planted already. It was in my business plan. I mean, I always knew I was going to do that. But you get stuck in the mud. And I was coming from a very challenging time. I could have just said, forget about it. But I didn't. It just catapulted me, that seed of adversity and challenge, to that next step. I ask you to never, ever lose that dream, that vision, that mission of what that is going to do, and that passion that's burning in your heart, and take action. I'd like you to go to propel.megandimartino.com/info and join my Propel community. I am here for you every day with tools to help you start, scale, and sustain the business and life of your dreams. You are a visionary entrepreneur, and I am here to help you. It is never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams. Be blessed.